Okay, thanks everybody for joining us. This is Jean Hodges, and we are going to talk today about social referrals. And we know by looking at analytics that when we talk about social referrals, we are mostly talking about Facebook still. So we're going to spend some time on this. And with me today, I have Summer Moore. There she is. And Summer's going to take us through basically some tips that are derived specifically from our websites and from our most successful posts and our most successful websites. So we're thinking you can learn from this about what are the types of things that really resonate on Facebook, because we know from what Facebook has said that the algorithm really favors content that resonates, content that motivates people to share and also to comment. It's not enough just to click the like button. So we're going to look at some of the things that overperform. We're going to look at some of the sites that do really well. And Summer's going to just take us through all of that, which is awesome. And I'm going to turn it over to her now. Summer?
Thanks, Jean. So these are some things that we're going to go over today in our short little 15 minutes here. So why are we still on Facebook? I think there's some debate about whether or not we should just move on and get off Facebook at this point. We're going to have some quick tips about what does well on Facebook. We're going to figure out, or we're going to look at how you know whether something is working or not. There's been a lot of questions about, if I've got something really great, can I put it up there twice? So we'll talk about that, or more than twice. And then we're going to look a little bit about CrowdTangle. I did want to give you guys some practical tips. So I've broken down sort of how to create lists within CrowdTangle that you can create for your reporters. So let's get started. Okay, so the first thing is we all know that Facebook is sort of the boss here. We have to play by Facebook's rules, which is, frustrating, and they can make a big difference in our traffic. They can make or break us, and that sucks. But at the same time, it's sort of where we are until we figure out how to make up this traffic elsewhere. We need to make sure that we are still sort of playing by Facebook's rules, and also we have to be on Facebook because we know that's where a lot of our readers are. It's still a large portion of our traffic, so this is why we can't really step away right now. We're still looking at anywhere between 20 and 30% of our traffic as a company is coming from Facebook. Yes, that's down. And it continues to dive, but that doesn't mean that we can just walk away at this point. It's too much of our traffic. And again, it's still where a lot of our audience is, so I think it's really important that we are where our audiences are. So who's doing really well? I wanted to give you a couple of sites that you could, go on their Facebook pages, see what they're doing, see what kinds of stuff they're posting, what they're saying about it. Fayetteville is our number one. This is from last month, and this is by session, so whoever had the most sessions last month. Florida, Northwest Florida is second. Canton Rep is the repository in Ohio, the Dispatch, and then the Telegram and Gazette. So I would encourage you to go look at one of these Facebook pages or all of them and try and see what they're doing and see if you can steal some good ideas from them. So how do we win on Facebook? The number one thing is we have to be engaging. So one of the things that Facebook has said is they are going to reward Facebook posts that have lots of comments and lots of shares. So in order to do that, it's really on us to be engaging, making sure that our headlines are good, making sure our chatter is good. We know we know photos do really well on Facebook. I think anyone that's looked at their Parsley or Google Analytics can see how well photos do. Openings and closings, restaurant news, things to do are all things that we know do well on our sites. They do well on Facebook as well. And then lastly, I'll talk a little bit about just thinking about yourself as part of this community and as someone who uses social media. What kinds of stuff do you share? What kinds of stuff that do you see from your friends that they're sharing? Those can always be a good place for you to just kind of do a gut check every once in a while. So what is be engaging? So the big thing that I just wanted to point out here is that not every story that you publish is necessarily a Facebook story. So think about how, what is capturing your audience and we'll talk about how you can figure out which posts do well. But once you figure that out, it's okay that it's not every piece of content that you produce. It doesn't have to go on Facebook necessarily. Or maybe it's, it's repackaged in some way, or maybe it's something where you had 3 good stories and so you turn them into a gallery or something that does well on Facebook. But be casual with your what I call chatter, which is the stuff that you type in above the post. Be casual there. You're talking to your audience. Think of, this is a social network, so thinking about talking like you would a friend, of course, still being ethical and making sure that you're using your news judgment, but it's okay to be a little bit more casual in that chatter. And then it's really important that we're interacting with commenters. I know a lot of commenters will say stuff like, fake news, or, they can get nasty in the comments. It's really important that you're in there and that you're responding. We had a really good conversation, a couple of really good conversations on Slack with a lot of your digital editors talking about how frustrating it can be. But guess what? When you get in there and you are a person and you're responding to these people, a lot of times that can shut them down pretty quickly. And if not, know when to walk away. But interacting with commenters, especially if they're asking questions about the content, is really important.
And I was just going to say, if you don't mind,
go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, the great thing about interacting with commenters is that more people end up commenting. So you can really start a conversation if you're in the comments, because a lot of people forget that we are humans behind our Facebook page. So I think that's really good. And the other thing I was going to mention is that Penny Reardon is leading a webinar next month in October specifically about how to deal with comments. So look for that. Look for info about that. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Jane. Okay, so we know photos do well as well. So this is the top post from Northwest Florida and Augusta, and you can see in there, yes, we know that Cop Stuff does well, but photos do really well as well. So every time that you can find, photos of things that people don't see all the time, or that a lot of people were at events, those kinds of galleries can get really good interaction on Facebook. One of the things that Augusta does is their spotted galleries, which you can see there's a couple of them in their top referrals here from Facebook. And those are just big galleries of people at events. So those will always get really good engagement on Facebook. Another thing is to think about is reader photos. Some of our most popular stuff on Facebook is just people that are sharing stuff with you via email or even on Facebook itself. A lot of readers send Facebook messages, photos via Facebook message, or maybe you see something on somebody's page and you reach out to them. Make sure that you do get permission, obviously, before you grab that photo, but those can be really, really high engagement. And just remember that the reason to do this, this isn't necessarily sending you any traffic back to your site, right? But the way that Facebook works, the more engaging posts that you have, the more often people are going to see other posts. So it's more likely that they actually will see some content and click on that content if you have engaging posts in there. So that's why we do things like this that aren't necessarily sending you right back to the site, but it's overall increasing your engagement numbers so that more of your readers are seeing your content. Openings and closings do really well on Facebook. We'll talk about CrowdTangle a little bit later, but if you look at the top stories from the company, a lot of them are openings and closings. So anything that you've got where something new is moving in or something loved is moving out, that is a great thing to put on Facebook. And it's also a really good opportunity to solicit memories from your readers or thoughts on something that's coming. It's a good time to start a conversation right there on Facebook. And like Jean said, that will only increase the amount of comments if you're one of those commenters. Restaurant news, we know restaurant news is really popular on our website. It also does well on Facebook. So anytime that you've got, especially a lot of our, well, not a lot, but some of our newsrooms are doing restaurant inspections now, turning those into galleries that are really, really popular. Even if you haven't gotten that far, if you know of some news that's coming out of a restaurant, make sure that you're putting that on Facebook. Things to do, things to do, things to do, things to do. We know our readers are looking for things to do. Even people that have lived in your community forever are always looking for new stuff to do. So making sure that you are giving them, suggestions. We have talked about an evergreen plan. These are all things that you can share over and over again. But this one I really wanted to share that was very cool from the Columbus Dispatch. So this was actually a list that they solicited from their readers, and then they continue to add to it. So every time that they posted on Facebook, they ask their readers, what have we missed? And then they add those things back to the gallery and then share again. So this is one of those things that will just keep on giving for the entire lifespan of what it is. So I think this is something that anybody could do, and I think Northwest Florida did it, but this is something that you could do in any community. Just make sure that you're soliciting those comments. It makes it a lot more popular, and you can get a lot more comments by doing that. So the other thing I'll say is, you live in these communities. You're a leader in this community. What kinds of stuff do you end up sharing? A lot of the most popular content is missing people, any kind of solicitation. If police are looking for stuff, if they're looking for, to identify a suspect, the kind of, safety stuff that happens in your community, those all do really well on Facebook. So just make sure that you are sharing those things and that you are giving the information so that that person can be found, and then make sure that you're updating. So when you find out if that person was found, you're putting that again back on Facebook so that everybody sees the resolution. That part's really important. Videos. So don't forget videos. Videos are still very important to Facebook. So make sure you're doing your Facebook Lives. Make sure you're doing videos. If you've got reporters out and they see something really interesting, have them shoot a quick video or go live and get those videos on Facebook. These do really well, especially around breaking news. But even if your photographer is out somewhere and sees something that's particularly interesting or funny, those things will do really well on Facebook, even if they're short 30-second videos, 20-second videos, but making sure that you are working those into your workflow for Facebook is really important. And then you can always embed these and put them into articles and then pass Inner Circle because you've got a video on your top story. And of course, breaking news. So breaking news, anytime you have breaking news, making sure that you're putting that out on Facebook is really important, and that you're updating people as that breaking news continues throughout the day. So making sure that you're telling people what's going on in real time. That is kind of the thing with social, is making sure that you don't just blast something out there and then never update people on what's going on. You can get many, many more interactions, many more page views out of it if you're updating people as new information comes into the newsroom. So can I post this story twice? I've got this question a couple of times, so I just wanted to share this example again from Northwest Florida. You can, but just make sure I wouldn't do it in the same day. You can see this one's about 16 hours apart, and just make sure that you're changing what you're saying about it, and that the story itself is updated so it's not the exact same URL. That's really important because otherwise Facebook will actually punish you. But you can figure out ways to get a story on there twice if it did really well for you and you just want to share it again to make sure that other people see it. That is possible. It probably will not do. You're always going to do, the first time is always going to do better. It's always going to do the best. So making sure that that is the strongest possible post is really important. But there are ways in which you can get it out there again the next day. Just make sure it's not exactly the same thing that you posted the day before. So how do I know what's working? There are a couple ways. We're going to talk about CrowdTangle, but another really easy way is just Facebook Insights. So if you go to the top of your page, where if you're an administrator, there's something that says Insights. If you just click on that, you'll get all kinds of information about your page. You'll see your reach. You'll see page views. You'll see page likes, and you can click on any of those and give it a different time span. So if you want to see, this whole year, if you want to see this month, if you want to see this week, you can do whatever you want, and you can see how your page is doing. And that reach is what's really important to see, if your content is getting in front of your readers. I think that's a really good way to find out. So Facebook Insights is an easy way to kind of get that data. So like I said, there's a bunch of different really great modules on Insights, but this is the one of them that I really like. So it gives you your post right there, what day and time it was published, and then it gives you your reach, your engagement, so you can see, how your posts are doing up against your other posts. You can see, what did well, what didn't do well, if there's something especially crazy that you want to try and do again, that kind of stuff you can all get from Facebook Insights. This will also tell you when readers are on Facebook, and then just make sure that you're focusing in on the posts that have the most shares and comments, because that's what Facebook is looking for. Jean, did you have anything on Insights before I move on?
No, that was really good. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so let's talk a little bit about CrowdTangle. So CrowdTangle, everybody in the company has access to CrowdTangle. If you don't, please shoot me an email or Penny an email, and we will get you into CrowdTangle. The great thing about CrowdTangle is you can see what everybody else in the company is doing. So all of those examples that I pulled are coming from CrowdTangle. So this screen that you're seeing right now is kind of like the home screen for us. And if you go to those overperforming posts are the things that are going to just pop up, and you can pick how long you want to look at, the last 2 hours, 12 hours, 7 days, however long you want to look, and you can see what's really gone crazy for the company, and either do that on your own or even contact the Wire desk and say, hey, I think this would be a really good story for my site. Can you please put it on the Wire, and then share it yourself from your own site. So this is a really good way to kind of compare yourself to what others are doing within the company. Also, it's a really great way where you can see what's working and what's not working. So it'll break down everything by post, so you can see the same stuff as Insights as far as your reach, as far as your engagement. You can see, how often you're posting is another good stat you can get from CrowdTangle. So if your Facebook traffic is just tanking, it's a good idea to look into CrowdTangle and see how many posts you're doing now compared to maybe what you were doing before. And we did this for one of our papers and discovered that they're only putting about half as many posts on Facebook itself. So we talked about a strategy about how you can increase that number a little bit. And again, making sure that they're engaging is most important, but seeing if we can get a couple more out there to see if we can bring that number up a little bit. And again, you can compare this to what other people are doing. You can see how many posts is somebody else that has about your same size. How many posts are they doing a day? How are they doing? So this is a really good way to see what everybody else is doing. And then the lists in CrowdTangle can be so great for your reporters and editors. So I really wanted to get into this a little bit because we haven't explained about how to make a list, and I wanted to show you guys how easy it is. Making sure, so what a list is, it will be a list of Facebook pages or Facebook groups. You can do it with Twitter and Instagram as well. And like say your cop reporter every morning would get an email from CrowdTangle that has what all of the local sheriff's Facebook pages and police and fire Facebook pages, what they've posted in the last 24 hours. So that can be a really great way for them to start their day as far as like knowing what because everybody's posting their own news now, right? So if they get in one email, they get all that information in one email, and it's a really great way to start their day so that they're not behind, and they don't have to go around and look at everybody's Facebook page. So how do you do that? On the left-hand side, there's a little blue button that just says Create List. It asks you what kind of list you want to create. So right now, you can either do one for pages or for groups, depending on what you're looking for. Then you would go in and name the list. You can see that at the top. And then in that search bar, you would just start typing what different kinds of stuff that you want to put in that list. So I just used Philadelphia Police, and you can see right there that 3 different pages popped up. So just going through and thinking about, hopefully your reporters know what Facebook pages that they need to look at, but even if they don't, you can put some generic search terms in there and see what pops up. So this is a really great way to kind of get that going. So then once you've created the list, you can go under notifications and you can create a notification. So this can either be a digest, which would just be a list of everything that they've done. It can be a leaderboard. So if you've got somebody that's got 50 Facebook pages that they're looking at, maybe they only want to know what did really well, because that will give them enough information. They don't need to see everything. You can do viral alerts. So if something goes viral from one of the Facebook pages that they're watching, or a referral alert. So if somebody on Facebook has referred them and tagged them in something, this will give you that alert. You can set up any of those notifications, and then you go in, you create the notification, and then you subscribe your reporter. So under that you create and subscribe that blue button, and then you would add the reporters. Oh, sorry. I thought I had a slide. But if you just create and subscribe that button there, you'll see in the next screen that you can just add reporters. So it's really easy to do. If anyone has any questions, please reach out to me. I'm more than happy to talk about it. And I think we've hit our time.
Yeah, thanks so much. And again, you can reach out to Summer or to Penny, and both of them can walk you through that if something about that is confusing to you. And also, as you know, we're going to send out the link to this video. We'll also send out the link to the slides. So you could take each slide and just kind of be in CrowdTangle and follow those directions. And I think that'll be really useful. Also, be sure to sign up for next week's continuation on social. This is where we're going to really dig into some of the more sophisticated stuff, platforms that we don't talk about very much, LinkedIn, Reddit, and just making sure that you're using the most of those platforms. So be sure to click and register there. And with that, we're going to just go right into